let's move on to example number 6. Now in this case, we are going to discuss examples wherein your C here is negative. So if C is negative, the factors of C will be one positive and one negative. Now, the factor with a greater value has the same sign as our B, okay? So let's discuss example number 6. Do we have any GCF? I think we can factor out 2 here. So you will have x squared plus 3x minus 18. Right, so we have a GCF, it is equal to 2. Now we need to get factors of negative 18. The sum should be equal to positive 3. Now since this one is negative, the factors should be one positive and one negative. Now since the middle term is positive, so for example, what are some factors of negative 18? We can have 9 and 2. Now, the middle term is positive, the bigger number should be positive and the smaller number will be negative. So 9 times negative 2 is negative 18. But when you add these two together, you're going to get 7. I need a sum of 3. What else? We can have 3 and 6. Now remember, one of these two numbers should be negative because if both are positive, if you multiply 3 and 6, you are not going to get negative 18. So one here should be negative, one should be positive. Now the one that is positive here is the greater absolute value, which is 6. And then 3 will be negative. So if you add these two together, you are going to get 3. Alright, so I think this will be the combination that we can use. Now, if in case, for example, you chose negative 6 and positive 3 earlier, although you're going to get a 3 here, when you add these two together, the sign is equal to negative. Now, what we need is a sum of 3. So we can't use negative 6 and 3. What we need is negative 3 and positive 6. Okay, so let's double check. Factors of negative 18 is negative 3 and 6. If you add these two together, you're going to get a positive 3. So the answer or the factors will be x minus 3, x plus 6. Alright, let's discuss number 9. Do we have any GCF? No, we don't have any GCF. Okay, so we need factors of negative 18y squared, and we need to get a sum of negative 7y. We have x squared minus 7y x minus 18y squared. Now since the last term is negative, the factors will be one positive and one negative. But the middle term is negative, so the factor that has a greater absolute value is the one that should be negative. Okay, so let's try to get the factors of negative 18y squared. So we can have 6y and 3y. One should be negative here. The greater absolute value should be the one that's negative. Now when you add these two together, you are going to get a negative 3y. Okay, I need 7y, so this one is wrong. We can have 18y and 1y. Now 1 should be negative. Now remember, again, the middle term is negative, so the higher absolute value here should be the one that is negative. Okay, negative 18y plus 1y, it will give us negative 17y. Alright, again, this is not the combination that we need. What about 2y and 9y? One of this should be negative. The one that's negative should be the one that has the absolute greater absolute value, which is 9y. Now, let's check. 2y times negative 9y will give us negative 18y, and if you add these two together, you are going to get negative 7y, which is the expression that we need. So this is our correct combination. So you will have x squared, or x, plus 2y x minus 9y. So this will be the factors of x squared minus 7xy minus 18y squared. Of course, don't forget to check your answer by using the FOIL method. Alright, number 10. I need factors of negative 24. Or let's check first GCF. Do we have a GCF? No, there's no GCF. So we need to get factors of negative 24. The sum should be equal to negative 2. Okay, now since the last term is negative, the factors should be one positive and one negative. Now the middle term is negative, so the one that has a greater absolute value should be the one that is negative. So for example, we can have 2 and 12. Alright, but we need one of these to be negative. Now the middle term is negative. The number that has a greater absolute value is the one that will become negative. In this case, it's 12. Now if you add these two together, you're going to get a negative 10. Alright, but we need a negative 2. So what about negative 8 and 3? So the one that has the higher absolute value should be the one that's negative. Negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. Now if you add these two together, you are going to get a negative 5. I need a negative 2, so cross this one out. What if I will use 4 and 6? 4 and 6 is 24. Now we need a negative 24. So one of these should be negative. Now the one that has the greater absolute value will become negative. Alright, 4 times negative 6 is negative 24. 4 plus negative 6 will give us a negative 2, which is the one that I need. So this will be the combination that we need. So I will have r plus 4, r minus 6. Alright, let's have one last example. Okay, so I have a trinomial. The last term is positive, so it means that I have to get factors of 7. The sum should be equal to 3. Okay, now since this one is positive, we have to check the sign of the middle term. Since the middle term is positive, the factors that we are going to consider for 7 will be both positive. So what are the factors of 7 that are both positive? We can have, well, since 7 is prime, we can only have 1 and 7. Okay, we don't have any other combination. Well, you can say 7 and 1, but the same thing as 1 and 7. Now, if you add 1 and 7, can we get 3? No, there's no way that we are going to get 3 because 1 plus 7 is equal to 8. Since 1 and 7 is the only combination that we have, we will not be able to get two factors of 7 that will give us a sum of 3. In this case, there's no way for us to factor x squared plus 3x and 7. This is an example of a prime polynomial.